Welcome to the Champions of Active Women podcast. In this podcast, we will interview individuals who have been successful within athletics and beyond. We hope that these interviews will encourage and inspire girls and women to be active for a lifetime, to reach their goals, and to break new barriers in sport and life. This podcast is brought to you by the Active Women's Health Initiative and the Sports Medicine Research Institute at the University of Kentucky. The mission of the Active Women's Health Initiative is to optimize health and promote physical activity and wellness for girls and women across the lifespan. We hope you enjoy our conversations and join us in understanding women's health today to ensure women's health tomorrow. Alli and Jenny Stumler are a mother-daughter athlete pair. Alli is currently a junior outside hitter on the University of Kentucky Volleyball team who is working towards a degree in elementary education. Alli was the 2018 SEC Freshman of the Year and was named to the 2019 American Volleyball Coaches Association All-American team. Jenny was a multisport athlete in high school and continued playing volleyball while earning her communications degree from Graceland College. Jenny loves a challenge and stays moving by doing CrossFit, weightlifting, yoga, running, and kayaking. In this episode, Alli and Jenny talk about their experiences in sport, their passion for competition, and the importance of a positive mental attitude. Alli and Jenny Stumler are a mother-daughter athlete pair. Alli is currently a junior outside hitter on the University of Kentucky Volleyball team who is working towards a degree in elementary education. Alli was the 2018 SEC Freshman of the Year and was named to the 2019 American Volleyball Coaches Association All-American team. Jenny was a multi-sport athlete in high school and continued playing volleyball while earning her communications degree from Graceland College. Jenny loves a challenge and stays moving by doing CrossFit, weightlifting, yoga, running, and kayaking. In this episode, Alli and Jenny talk about their experiences in sport, their passion for competition, and the importance of a positive attitude. So welcome, Alli and Jenny. Thanks for joining me tonight.
Thanks for having us.
So you are both athletes with a passion for leading active lifestyles. And I wanted to begin our conversation today by having each of you just share what you love about being an athlete. So Jenny, maybe you could get us started.
Well, I've always kind of been addicted to wanting to be strong, to feel strong. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel happy. It releases those endorphins. But the biggest thing, I just love feeling, it just makes me feel healthy. And so I just like being strong.
That's a good, I love that, just it's simple, but wanting to feel strong. And I imagine that's not just in a weightlifting sense, but just in a kind of life sense.
In a total body sense. I mean, everything from your physical body to your mind, it all translates, it all flows. So
Alli, what about you?
I think something for both of us, just obviously growing up, we just love to beat people. We were talking about this yesterday about, kind of walking through the questions, and I was like, one of us has to say that we just like proving people wrong and beating people. So I think that could be an answer for both of us. But just the competitive side of things, I definitely grew up watching my mom compete. She did CrossFit, group fitness, all of it. And so that's something that I naturally inherited, and I just love competing, especially along other people. So that's something really gets the adrenaline going, and it's really fun.
True. Yeah.
So I'd love to hear a little bit more about both of your active stories, and how you got started, who was important, what sports you played, those kinds of things. Anything you'd like to share, and maybe Alli, you could get us started this time.
Yeah. So when I kind of did a little bit of all the sports growing up, but when I was 8 years old, I was in second grade. My older cousin, she's 2 years older, she was about to start the club volleyball in our area. So my aunt called and was like, "We're going to do this if you want to join." So of course, hopped in on it. I think I tried to do track and was not a fan. I played basketball since I was like 4 or 5 until I graduated high school. So always loved basketball. But yeah, about 8 years old, I started off with club volleyball. and really have just loved it ever since. It obviously starts off much smaller, and then you start doing the travel and all the club tournaments, and then high school picks up, you do all the high school tournaments, and then luckily enough and blessed enough to go on and play at college. So it's kind of how I got into volleyball, but volleyball and basketball were definitely my main two sports that I loved.
So multi-sports, tried a little bit of everything, but fell in love with volleyball.
For sure, for sure.
Jenny, what about you?
I always dabbled in different sports in high school. I went to a tiny little school, so I could, you could play whatever you wanted. So I tried it all, but I ended up getting a scholarship to go play volleyball. So that was what I ended up doing, and that was a great opportunity that got me through school. So, and then once I started having my family, I had to find a way to kind of use that and channel that. So then I started teaching group fitness. I started teaching like dance aerobics and going that whole route, and became a trainer. And then I could just drag my kids along with me while I did that, just as an outlet for me to just stay mentally and physically fit. And I loved every second of that. So that's what I did the whole time the kids were growing up.
So was that a challenging transition from competitive athlete for you? I know Alli hasn't gone through this yet, but from competitive athlete to lifetime athlete?
If anything, it helped me, not competitive in that sense, but with my own self, I became very competitive because I wanted to do it better each and every single time that I did it. So, and that's kind of like with every sport that I pick that I want to do, I beat myself up until I feel like I get it as perfect as I can get, which is not necessarily the most healthy perspective to do. That's taken me a lot of time to kind of work through those things. But now that I'm in my 40s, I've definitely figured that aspect of it out. You just have to take it with a grain of salt and move on and enjoy the process. I didn't always enjoy it in my 20s. I just did it as a grind. And if I did it yesterday this way, I wanted to do it today 10 times better. And so I've kind of let that go. And
now time has given you a little perspective there on how to do it in a manageable way for a lifetime.
Because you cannot maintain that forever. I couldn't, my body couldn't maintain that forever. So
yeah. So for both of you, tell me a little bit about the people in your life who supported you as an athlete or currently support you as an athlete.
Alli, you go first.
All right. I think the obvious, my parents. Without them, I obviously wouldn't have been able to play club volleyball, wouldn't have been able to get a scholarship, those things. That's really important, especially to be recruited, is to play club. And so without them, financially, time, everything, they sacrificed a ton for me to be able to play that. And I know that's not easy. So definitely that just means so much. Looking back in the moment, it's really hard to see those things, the sacrifices of every weekend, traveling hours, spending a ton of money on hotels, whatever it may be. So it's really looking back on it now, I'm like, wow, that was such a big sacrifice. So thankful for that, because honestly, without that, I wouldn't be playing a collegiate sport. So it's just really cool and super grateful for them, for sure.
I will just add to that, we enjoyed every second of that, by the way, and we were thrilled to make those sacrifices. I have always believed, and I still to this day, I've always made my kids choose a sport in high school, whether they wanted to play or not, and from the time really they were in elementary school. I think an idle mind is the devil's playground. So I've just always made them kind of choose something and try different things. And my son, up until the time that he actually took a job, he always had to, and he does not necessarily enjoy sports that much. He did do CrossFit with me for a while, and that was thrilling. I loved taking CrossFit with him, but he didn't do that for very long. He's more of the dirt bike rider kind of guy, which is a sport in and of itself, but it's not something that I couldn't keep up with. So, but that kept them focused on other things other than potentially getting in trouble. So
the sports are a good way to keep kids active and like you said, keep us all out of trouble, using that energy in a positive way. So when we had Alli join us for National Girls and Women in Sports Day on our panel, she talked about being active with you, and you just mentioned being active with your son, Jenny. So I'm wondering if you guys could talk about what life is like for the Stumler family, and what your activities, how you're active together, and why that's important to you.
Man, if we could get my husband involved, we could light the world on fire, but I cannot get him on board. All all growing up, when we would go on vacations and whatever we did, I would always make sure that I got up and, got some physical activity in, because mentally for me, it's important that I set time apart of the day to do that. And so I would always beg the kids to please come with me, and they never would. So now it's like the thrill of my vacation. Alli will actually go work out with me. As a matter of fact, it's a little, just as a funny little story, we were on vacation once and she was aggravated with me about something. So she withheld her exercise from me. She would not work out.
That speaks to how important it is.
Way to singing me. But yes, I couldn't wait for somebody to join me in the gym. And so now I got her. So it's always fun.
That's awesome.
She whoops me every time, so.
No, but I do always try. And that has been interesting because now the tides have turned in the last couple years. And I don't particularly like it, but it's so cool to watch her be so strong and to unfortunately beat me at everything we did. I'm going to continue to try though. All during her break, we were doing sprints in the side yard. Our neighbors think we're absolutely insane, but I was determined to try to beat her every single sprint.
That's
Never did, but I
kind of
kept
insane. I love those stories, and I think it speaks to your competitive nature that Alli mentioned early in the conversation, and sounds like some good motivation to keep you moving for a lifetime there, both of you.
Well, the day you stop having fun is the day you will stop doing it. So you just gotta put a smile on your face and go after it.
So, I think both of you would probably agree that being an athlete really shapes who you are as a person, and whether it's life, relationships, career, school, all of those experiences. So could you talk a little bit about how being an athlete and that perception of yourself and just that activity has really shaped who you are as a person?
It kind of makes you comfortable in your own skin. You stop worrying about the details of things. Even when you're having a conversation with someone, you feel more comfortable in your own skin. When you're an athlete, you just feel better from head to toe about yourself. So for me, that's a big thing.
I think definitely, especially with school, I mean, just taking responsibility. I think you need that in every aspect of life, whether that is school or relationships, one day a job, whatever it is, you have to take responsibility. And I think being an athlete has 100% taught me how to do that. If I want to be successful on the volleyball court, I need to take responsibility of what I eat, how much water I put in my body, how much I work out extra, or if I'm the first one in the gym every day, or, you have to take responsibility for those things. And then that correlates into responsibility studying, responsibility, putting time and energy in relationships that are beneficial. We always talk about like having good people in your corner. When you go through stuff, who are you relying on? The good people in your corner. So life is all about responsibility. And the older you get, the more you realize that. And I think sports is a great way to teach you those lessons. They might not always be awesome. It might be a really tough coach or an awful teammate, but those lessons help you and build responsibility, which I think is really cool, and get to experience more of that the older I get.
So many meaningful things there that will go well beyond volleyball or any other sport for that matter. So what both of you are kind of in different stages of being an athlete, but what is your next physical activity or sport challenge or goal?
Mine is to win a national championship. Yeah, if all goes as planned, we'll be competing in April, and that is our big goal, to win a championship this year. And we have a really awesome opportunity to do that, a really awesome team. So that's my next big goal.
Well, we'll be cheering you on for sure. We've been watching, and we'll definitely be cheering you on.
Thank you.
I don't have anything specific on the horizon. However, so I'm 46 now, and last year I was working with a strength coach, and he tried every day to talk me into actually competing in a bodybuilding competition. And I told him if I can get myself there by the time I'm 50, I will compete when I'm 50.
All right.
My problem is I love to eat as much as I love to work out. And you have to eat perfectly, like Alli eats perfectly. You have to eat perfectly. And I don't know that I'm willing to sacrifice that. So I'm taking this next year to really decide whether or not I'm going to go for that or not. But I'm super goal driven. And if I don't have something on the horizon, then I kind of back off a little bit. So it's something I'm seriously considering.
Awesome.
Do it. We'll start a chain.
I would have to give up all my cookies, and I don't know if I want to.
Well, if that doesn't work out, you can compete with Alli in just everything, and
Yes.
she'll keep
Trying
you
to keep up
going.
with her.
So, being an athlete is not always easy, whether it's being a lifetime athlete or whether it's, a competitive collegiate athlete. And, so there are lots of challenges. There are days that are physically or mentally really challenging. And so I'm wondering if you could just talk about some of the challenging aspects and how you get through them.
I think an obvious one, I know I talked about this on the last call that we did for the National Women's and Girls in Sports Day, was just injury. I think that is, I hate to say it, but almost inevitable for any athlete. And it was actually a year ago today that I hurt my thumb and had to get surgery. And that was a big setback because we had just finished season. We were in off season. So that's the time where you build a ton of muscle, strength, speed, all that. And then I get a major injury at a USA tryout. And I was so pumped about it. I was texting my parents, and I'm just someone who doesn't show a ton of emotion playing volleyball. And mom was like, this is the first time we've actually seen you like want to do this and like make this team. Like, this is crazy. And I was like, I'm just like so pumped. Like, that was really the first opportunity I had got with USA Volleyball. So I was really excited. Second day there, I hurt my thumb, have to get flown home that night. And so it was just like a really big bummer. And like I said, it's inevitable, but the, COVID happened right after that. So I, praise the Lord, didn't have to miss any games, really not many practices. Like, everyone went home to quarantine. So that's when I just focused on rehab and building strength. And so it really worked out as a huge blessing in that sense. But definitely injury is just super annoying. And I'm sure a lot of women, girls listening to this, I'm sure have gone through injury. I know mom has, but it's something that you can't control what happens, but you can definitely control what you do after the fact. So your attitude, mindset, how you recover, rest, all those things you can 100% control.
You can choose to change the way you're training, or you can choose to give up and be angry about your situation. So you pushed through every day and you learned to train differently. I was with her doing a lot of that process, and we did a heck of a lot of legs because she couldn't do anything with her hands. She couldn't hold, but like she would find ways to do upper body stuff without having to use that hand. And it was exciting to watch her push through that. So
yeah, get creative and make sure you're healing, but also staying strong at the same time.
Yeah, the hardest part, I used to tell everybody when I used to teach group fitness is you have to lay out your clothes. You have to like make a choice that you're going to do this. And in the morning, don't ever give yourself an opportunity to think about it again, because if you do, you will give yourself an opportunity to wiggle out of it. So just go through the motions, get there. It doesn't matter if you're emotionally, if you're physically not feeling well, you shouldn't go to the gym. But if you're just mentally don't want to get there, or you're stressed, just get there. Just put your clothes on, put one foot in front of the other and go. And that's what you have to do and keep doing. And then when you break through, you'll have a big breakthrough. And then that is such an addictive feeling when you push through a workout that you didn't want to show up for. And then all of a sudden you are cruising through it. And it's like, heck yes, I got this. So those are always the fun moments.
And you're never disappointed when you leave, right? You're never, once you've gotten there, you're never disappointed that you got up and did the work.
Absolutely.
So any other challenges you've experienced in training or competing that you want to share?
There's always disappointments for me, just because, I've had to relearn how to do a lot of things in my 40s that things were easy for me in my 30s and 20s, and now all of a sudden, but it's been fun now that I've settled into the fact that I have to do things differently. I can still create that high intensity without having a high impact. And so that's actually been really fun for me to kind of dig in there and crack into some resources and figure out exactly how to do that. So that ended up being fun, but in the beginning it was pretty challenging for me.
Well, it seems like in all phases of activity, these transitions, they require you to think about and to make some changes, like you said, in how you approach things. So Jenny, I know Alli is not ready yet to transition out of competitive athletics, and they may be in her future for a really long time. But what advice do you have for her as she starts to think about in a few years or a decade? I don't know when that'll be, to that transition to a lifetime of activity rather than competitive athletics.
Your attitude is what changes everything. If you get up and slap a smile on your face and you go through it, you're going to be the happiest person on the planet. You just can't overthink things. You just got to enjoy the process. That's the only thing that I can encourage her with.
Awesome. So, as two women who have found a love for all types of activity, both competitive with yourself and competitive with others, what advice do you have for other women about leading an active lifestyle?
You will feel so much better if you do the things that we are talking about. Like if you just find 20 minutes to kind of push yourself mentally and physically every single day, it just releases endorphins into your body that you didn't even know that you had. It will help balance out your hormones. It will help balance out your mental state. And then your body will start falling in line with that. And then you might decide, oh, wait, that's kind of nice. I like feeling this way. So it helps set the tone for everything that you do in life. So then you no longer approach things just lapsadaisically. You'll approach it like you mean to do it. And it's just very fulfilling when you do that.
I would say take risk or do something that maybe you don't want to do, aka mom. I'm just thinking, like, as we're sitting here talking about this, that everything we've mentioned is the mental side. Like physically, I went through trauma, but then it ended up being a mental game of how can I recover quickly, but also focus on getting stronger. We go through challenges of, okay, I'm getting older. How can I mentally stay stable? Or everything we're mentioning is mental, which is nuts because you're putting your body through stuff, which is physical, but then really you can't your physical side won't move if your mental side isn't pushing it. So I think training your brain, that's reading. I'm horrible at reading, so I am preaching to myself right now, but focusing on when you do go through hard stuff, okay, what's my mentality right now? When you have that annoying teammate, okay, how am I bettering them still? Like it's not focusing on yourself, or I don't know, there's just a lot more to life, not just sports or whatever, but there's a lot more to life than just yourself. So how can you make people around you better? And that all starts within here. And I know especially mom and dad have trained me whenever I'm having a bad game. Like I was just an emotional player. I would cry after every game until I was like 14 because I was just such a people pleaser, and I wanted everyone to be, happy about how I played. And then that put so much pressure on me mentally, and I just couldn't perform. I couldn't. And so they would just tell me, like, it starts here. Like you have to visualize the next play. You have to win the point in your mind and believe in yourself before the mental pushes the physical. So I had to believe it here before it actually happened on the court. And I think it's really cool to be at a spot where I have a ton of growing to do, but I definitely know that my brain powers what I do on the court. So, and that's in all aspects of life. So just know that when you go through hard stuff, there's a reason for it, and it's only going to help you and mentally make you stronger.
I love that. The mental powers the physical. Such an insightful way of thinking about it, and really describing those connections between what we think and what we feel, and how our body reacts to that. I'm thinking, as we're having this conversation, both of you are really comfortable with, me labeling you as an athlete and talking about being an athlete. I'm sure that we have women, men, girls maybe listening who don't see themselves as an athlete. And I'm wondering, what advice do you have for those people who are listening, say, oh, that's great for those people who have been active their whole lives and who are comfortable being athletes. Do you have advice for people who just don't see themselves in that light?
I actually don't see myself as an athlete. I live vicariously through my daughter, 100%.
Well, you hide it really well. You seem comfortable when I say that to you.
No. Alli, you answered the question. I was just being silly.
Definitely an athlete, 100% an athlete. But I think I also said this the last time I was able to talk with you guys, was that it doesn't matter what other people label you as. I think at one point we all were not athletes. I think, maybe you were athletic or maybe you weren't, but that doesn't matter. Like, you have to start somewhere. So whether it's your first workout ever or your 500th workout, it doesn't matter. At some point, like, I had to start at some point. When I was 8 years old, I picked up a volleyball, and then, it progressed from there. So you never really know until you try. So that goes back to the taking risk. But also knowing that your identity isn't what other people tell you. That's also another lesson that I've been learning as I got older, was if someone says, oh, she's not athletic, or she doesn't have an athletic bone in her body, or whatever, like, practice makes perfect. And the more you get out and go for a run, the more you get out, touch a volleyball, basketball, softball, whatever it is, the more you're working on your skill and building your confidence in your athleticism. And that's all that matters. So whether you're super successful in that or not, your happiness and what you believe about yourself is way more important than what they label you as, which is hard. And I know that when I get labeled, I take that to heart, and it's really hard to get past what people label you as. But just know that what you say about yourself is way more important and valued than what anyone else can label you as.
This kind of goes along that thread. It's a little bit of a different, it's not necessarily the answer to the question you're specifically asking, but it is something I have people ask me all the time. They will call me and ask me advice on things that they can do. Obviously, they're trying to lose weight or get involved in a program, and they're always super uncomfortable to go and, like, I'm not a CrossFitter, I can't go in there. Well, none of us are CrossFitters. We all just go in there every day and we do the work. Oh, I can't go in a gym, I'm not a bodybuilder. And that's what I hate more than anything, is because even the people that are bodybuilders, they're not doing everything perfectly either. So we have to go in the gym every single day and just try it. Who cares if it's wrong? At least we're trying and making an effort. There's always people around that we can ask. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think that both of you, what you're saying is, by doing the things that an athlete does, you are an athlete, right? And you by making those choices and going out there and being active, whatever that activity is, that you're making those choices to be active and to be an athlete yourself.
Yeah.
So, Jenny, you mentioned earlier kind of the transition after you had children and became a mom and being active. And I'm wondering if you could talk about, any specific advice you have for moms or any kind of caretaker who is struggling to get in their own activity and to take care of themselves in the midst of all those caretaking roles.
Gosh, there's so many ways to get involved with and being physical now compared to when I was 20. Things, you can do everything right from your home if you needed to. There was not really resources back then. So I had to find a program that would allow me to take kids and or teach them myself. I did stuff at church. I would have a little group come and work out with me. So you just have to get creative. You can throw your kids in the stroller and take them with you everywhere you go. But there are lots of great opportunities out there now, but the most thing that you can do that will keep you doing it is get your kids involved with you.
I think
they enjoy it.
And I'll add to her answer for her. One thing, just growing up with her, as my mom she led by example. And so like she said, when she would want to go work out, I didn't always want to go. But now that, I have goals for myself and I want to achieve those goals. Whenever we were in quarantine, I came back, I was working out with her almost every single day. We were doing stuff together. I came back, I PR'd. So got personal records in almost all of my lifts. I jumped higher than I ever have before. So that just goes to show that she's leading by example, and that makes people want to come under you and do what you're doing. So I've seen her succeed with her teaching, her instructing, with her in CrossFit, everything she's done growing up. And now I'm just now finally getting to wanting, I guess, to do those things with her. And so she 100% led by example. And that's what is so cool, that me and my brother can do those things with her now. So to moms, I'm obviously not a mom, but lead by example first, because kids do notice that. And eventually there will be a point when it clicks and they will hop on board too.
Yeah, I had to wait a long time for that, but it was really awesome when they both turned that corner and was like, yeah, I'll work out with you. Ah!
My boys are 5 and 8, and so we're pretty far from that that moment, I think. But I'm certainly trying to be an active role model in my life.
Stay the line, stay the course.
Yeah. Alli, I think you read my mind, because my next question was, tell me about having a strong, active role model in your life. And I think you just answered that. Is there anything else you want to add there?
I guess with the leading by example, she would always talk about the eating part of being an athlete. And I think someone who maybe isn't taking that as seriously might overlook that part, or think like, oh, I'm not a true athlete, like I don't need to focus on that. But that 100% dictates how well you perform in the gym, or how well you lift that day or run that day, is food. We always say input equals output. So what are you putting in? That's what you're going to get out of it. And same thing, leading by example. She every night would make a vegetable, protein, and a carb. That's what we had for breakfast. She was trying to get me to eat Greek yogurt, and I was not having it as a kid. But now I'm eating my Greek yogurt with some fruit and somehow getting the protein in for breakfast. So it's just, now I can look back and I have not all the knowledge, but coming into college, a lot of athletes don't know what food can do for you, because maybe their bodies haven't been pushed to their limit until they get to college. And so it's really cool, because I'm so thankful that I had a mom who knew what she was talking about. She, I think, is very interested in food. And so she had a lot of knowledge in that area. And so I came in with some, but looking at my teammates, other people in athletics, they didn't know what their body needed before workout or what they needed after workout. So it's really cool that I grew up with someone like that, who knew and was able to help me and be knowledgeable, and I could also follow her lead. And again, she led by example in that area.
And now you're the one teaching me, as you screenshot all your amazing meals. She's turned into quite the gourmet chef. It blows my mind. I'm not a good cook. I just cook the basics, but she cooks all these amazing things. And she's like the little Pinterest chef at our apartment, I think. And it's also great and nutritional, and it's good stuff.
I love it. I look back on my athletic days in college and really wish that I had paid more attention to food and nutrition. Part of me knew what I should be doing, and I didn't always do a great job there. So I think that those messages are great, and it's the fuel that your body needs to be active. So you need good fuel.
Yeah, and the program is really good about teaching them that stuff. So she's really internalized that, and she takes it very serious. So it's good.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, I'd like to give both of you the last floor here to share any other final messages you have with our audience today.
You go first, Al. You're better well-spoken than I am.
I don't know about that. Main point. There's a lot that I could say, but I think the main one would just be, I already said it, but the risk part. I think don't be afraid to go after something because of the risk. I think, and don't compare where you're at. That would actually be my number one. I'm flipping them. Risk number 2, comparing number 1. I think it's so easy, especially as a girl, a woman, a mom. I'm sure that's even hard. Your body changes so much after that. And to look at someone on Instagram or Facebook or whatever it is and think, oh, well, she's so skinny. Well, number one, people edit their pictures, so it's probably not true. And number two, I think by comparing, it's not doing you any good. You're just tearing yourself down. There's a quote I always say to myself: comparison is the thief of all joy. So one day you look in the mirror and you think like, okay, I'm down 3 pounds. That's your goal. Or, in my case, I'm really trying to focus on muscle. So I say, okay, I'm up a couple pounds. Like, that's awesome. It's probably muscle. And then the next day, I see someone else's numbers and they've gained 10 pounds of muscle. And it's like, okay, well, that just took all your joy away. But you should only be focused on your numbers, on your health, your body, how you feel. And that's going to ultimately give you the greatest satisfaction, not comparing with someone else. So, which is really hard to do. I get it. I do it all the time. And especially in athletics, when everything is based off of performance. That's how coaches choose you. It's how you make teams. That's how you get first, second, third, or whatever it is. So just focusing on your numbers, your performance. And that's truly when you'll be the happiest with yourself.
Agree with all that. So for me, I think I like to surround myself with people who inspire me. So there will be like this really awesome athlete at the gym, and I will make it a point to try to get to know them on a little better level, because those people, so some of my best friends are people that I've met in the gym throughout my life in various different programs that I've been in still to this day. And they still inspire me every single day. And they know when I'm kind of down in a rut, and they'll text me and help me pull back out of that. And so just the ebbs and flows, but the people that you surround yourself are absolutely the key to keeping longevity to your fitness, because some days it's awesome and some days it gets a little grueling. When you're super competitive with yourself, it can be so. But the last thing is really every day's motto should be get up and get after it. That's just what it should be. And then put a smile on your face, because your attitude is so infectious. And when you go in that gym and you have a nice, positive, radiant smile on your face, it's hard not to, your body will follow suit with that. So just put on a smile and your body will follow suit.
I love it. Get up and get out there.
Get up and get after it.
Simple advice, but it's really important to do. Well, ladies, thank you for joining me tonight. I appreciate your time and you sharing your experiences with being active and being athletes.
Yes, thanks for having us.
Thank you for listening to the Champions of Active Women podcast. This podcast is brought to you by the Active Women's Health Initiative and was produced by the Faculty Media Depot at the University of Kentucky. If you enjoyed this episode, you can listen and subscribe to all of our episodes wherever you find your podcasts. For up-to-date information about the Active Women's Health Initiative, you can find us on social media at UKAWHI. Thank you for supporting us as we work to promote health and physical activity among girls and women across the lifespan.